Welcome into OutKick the show. I appreciate all of you hanging out with me here on the Thursday edition of the program. I want to start off again by saying I love Los Angeles. I have spent in my life the most time here, obviously, where I live now. Nashville, we're about to be hit with Snowmageddon beginning tomorrow. But I've spent most of my life living in Nashville. I lived in the Caribbean. I lived in Washington, D.C., and for the last decade, I have traveled a great deal to L.A. Probably of any city in America, I have more friends in L.A. other than the city and state where I live in now. And I just think it is beyond a shadow of a doubt the case that the people of L.A. are not being well served by their leadership, whether it's the governor or the mayor. I'm going to talk about that a little bit. But I want to say I'm thinking about everybody in L.A. and thank you to all of the people who are first responders, firemen, police officers, everybody busting their asses out there. LA, when I did OutKick the coverage, my morning radio show, we had a huge audience of people that woke up at 5 a.m. Pacific time and listened to my radio show out there. I still meet people all over the country who say, hey, man, I got up super early, because a lot of people do have to get up early to keep up with the East Coast. And so there's a lot of people up in the 5 a.m. hour in L.A. to beat traffic, to try to catch up with what's going on the East Coast. And I hear from people all the time in L.A. who are major listeners of my show back in the day and still listen today. And so, look, man, I know what you guys are going through, and I hope the best possible result can arise going forward. I'm going to talk about that some. But we're also going to be talking about football. 5 straight days of college football or NFL playoffs commencing tonight. I cannot wait to see what's going to happen in Penn State-Notre Dame game. We're about to tape. As soon as I finish this live show, we will be taping with Kelly Stewart, the Fade, breaking down the wild card weekend in the NFL and the opening weekend of college football. All of that still coming your way. I'll talk about the game between Penn State and Notre Dame, what I expect to see happen, how I see it breaking down, and why I'm taking the side that I am. All of that coming up in a moment. But first, it's playoff time, now or never. Don't miss out on the last few weeks of football action with Prize Picks, where you can win up to 1,000 times your money. Prize Picks now has MasterCard quick and easy deposits into your account. I've got picks for you for the NFL weekend action. Right now, my picks, these 4, if we hit 10-1, we've hit on 2 so far this year. We've been close on a couple of others. George Pickens, who has been an enigma in terms of whether he's going to show up or not, coming off of a truly atrocious game against, who were they playing against? The Steelers looked awful. Was it the Ravens? I think it was the Ravens. Whoever they played last week, the Bengals, sorry. George Pickens was awful against the Bengals. I'm taking more than 54.5 receiving yards for George Pickens. And then this is simple and easy. These are just to score a touchdown. Mike Evans, more than 1/2 touchdown rushing or receiving. Jalen Hurts, I think we're going to get a tush push, more than 1/2 touchdown rushing or receiving. And Justin Jefferson, more than 1/2 receiving yard touchdowns, receiving or rushing touchdowns. So Pickens, more than 54.5 receiving, and then touchdowns by Mike Evans, Jalen Hurts, and Justin Jefferson. If we're right, that is a 10-1 payout. PrizePicks.com, use my name, Clay, or OutKick. If you use code OutKick, you can get $50 instantly after you play your first $5 lineup. That is code OutKick, $50 instantly after you play your first $5 lineup. Prize Picks, run your game. And let's run the game right into the college football playoff, which begins tonight in beautiful, sunny Miami, Florida area. Penn State against Notre Dame. James Franklin against Marcus Freeman. I like Penn State plus the 1.5, and I like the under. I think that Penn State is going to win this game outright. I think it's going to be a low-scoring game. Ultimately, I think that Penn State is better at the quarterback position. I think you got 2 elite defenses, 2 elite rush offenses. Ultimately, somebody is going to have to make a big-time play throwing the ball down the field. And I think that Drew Aller is rounding into shape in a significant fashion, and he will be the difference maker tonight for Penn State. I think the Nittany Lions are going to win their third playoff game, which would, I think, probably be the biggest coaching win of James Franklin's career, bigger than the Big Ten championship, and advance to the national title game in Atlanta. Tonight, the Penn State Nittany Lions get past Notre Dame. I'm excited to watch. I think the under is the play. I think both defenses come to dominate. 20-17 is the win for Penn State. That's under the 45.5. That is Penn State covering as the 1.5-point underdog. I like the Nittany Lions to get it done. Been a fabulous year for Notre Dame. I think Notre Dame has woken up the echoes. I think they have answered all the criticisms about Notre Dame not winning, being able to win a big game. Marcus Freeman has built a big-time power. This is not a shot at Notre Dame. This is simply, I think, at the quarterback position, Drew Aller, I have seen making more plays down the stretch. Now, to be fair to Notre Dame, they have back-to-back transfer quarterbacks that have fit in pretty well. We're going to get into the transfer quarterback position and decision-making here in a moment and what the impact has been. But I think there's a good chance Riley Leonard can make some plays with his legs. Drew Aller is sneaky in his ability to make plays with his legs. Riley Leonard, better athlete at quarterback, but I have not seen Riley Leonard throwing the football down the field with the same big play ability that I have seen from Drew Aller. So I am taking the winner here as Penn State as the underdog, small underdog, nearly 50-50 game, and I'm taking the under. I like Penn State 20-17. By the way, the other game, because I don't think, we'll see what time I'm supposed to be on Fox News tomorrow. There's possibility I'll do a Friday show. We're probably going to be snowed in here. I'm supposed to be on Martha McCollum, so just FYI for staff, I may do a show tomorrow as well. But I'll go ahead and give you my other pick. I'm taking Ohio State minus the points against Texas. The Buckeyes have just been hard to stop, and I know the number's out to 5.5, and I understand it's in Dallas. Theoretically, Texas going to have a home field advantage, but I just haven't seen the Longhorns perform at the ceiling level that I've seen Ohio State perform at. Ohio State obliterated Tennessee. They absolutely destroyed Oregon. They haven't allowed these games to be close. They've got maybe the three best receivers almost left in college football. Nobody can cover Jeremiah Smith down the field. And Texas, I want to like Texas and buy into this team, but I haven't really been that impressed with them. I didn't think they were great against Clemson. I know they won by 14. They certainly weren't very good down the stretch against Arizona State. I would love for the Longhorns to get the win here because that would mean that at least we're going to have a really good game because I don't think they can blow out Ohio State. I think they'd have to win a close game. But I look at the way this Ohio State offense is clicking. I look at what Will Howard's doing, the dynamic playmakers that they have. I just don't think that Quinn Ewers and company has that ability. So I'm going to take Ohio State minus the 5.5. I'm also going to take the over. I think there's going to be some points scored in this game. So I'm going to take the over 53.5. So Ohio State and the over 53.5 if I do the show Friday. And I think there's a decent chance I'm going to do a show Friday because I think we're going to be snowed in here and not going to be able to do anything. But we're expecting like 6 inches of snow here in Nashville. And look, I mean, if it snows in Nashville, it's a big deal. If we get half a foot, it's a really big deal. The whole city just comes undone. It's snowpocalypse like what's going on in Dallas right now with many of you. In fact, I've got a friend who just texted me like while I'm doing the show here that there's a lot of people out there that are in Dallas. One of my friends in Dallas just texted me about the chaos that's going on down there. So I know a lot of you are probably on the road for that Ohio State and Texas game, and I'm on Ohio State and the over 53.5. Okay, I'm going to break down the wild card with Kelly Stewart, but quickly, I'm taking the Chargers to win the game. I'm taking the Ravens to win, but the Steelers plus a big number. I'm taking the Bills. I'm taking the Eagles. I'm taking the Commanders, and I'm taking the Vikings. And I'll dive into all those wild card games in the show we're just about to do with Kelly and explain why I'm going the direction that I am in those 6 NFL wild card games. I just mentioned the transfer portal and the fact that Texas lost, and they lost twice to Carson Beck's Georgia team. I know Carson Beck got hurt late, but news breaking right before I came on the air that Carson Beck has entered the transfer portal, and it appears Carson Beck is not now going to go to the NFL. The same thing may end up happening with Quinn Ewers. What's going on? This is important, and I need to probably write long form on it, and maybe I will do it tomorrow. But I actually saw on Instagram Maurice Clarett liking my discussion about Diego Pavia and his decision-making on college. And let me just take you back a little bit because I'm a college football diehard. I know that a lot of you are college football diehards as well. And look, to me, this has not ever happened before. Usually, the Maurice Clarett, Mike Williams era, guys wanted to get into the NFL as rapidly as they could. And they would even file lawsuits to get into the NFL. Now Diego Pavia is filing a lawsuit, Vanderbilt's quarterback, to not count his junior college years so he can continue to play college football. The same thing is now going to happen, I think, at least based on these news stories, potentially with Carson Beck and with Quinn Ewers. Usually, a guy would want to go to the NFL because he could make more money. Carson Beck may be able to make more money playing college football for another year than he can by going to the NFL. And this is wild. And if I'm looking and getting advice like Carson Beck might be, there's a team that might make sense. Miami can say to him, hey, look at what we did with Cam Ward. Cam Ward, the expectation was, oh, he's going to go pro. He's not going to go from Washington State to another college. He's going to enter his name in the draft. And then I think they started, and this is credit to Cam Ward, I think his team, his advisors, ultimately it's his decision, I think they started looking around and they said, man, you're not going to get drafted that high. Maybe you're a second, third, fourth round guy. And as a result, we think it makes more sense. You can make a couple $1 million, go play football for Miami for a year. They've got a talented team around you. You can make a run at the Heisman Trophy. If you ball out like we think you're going to ball out, you're going to be able to make a couple of million, which is more than you're going to make in the NFL. And then we can make you a first-round quarterback, and then you'll get basically 4 years guaranteed, maybe a fifth year, depending on whether the team picks up the option. And you're going to be able to double dip and you won't be hurt. In fact, you will actually do better because you have the opportunity to stay there and play college football. And I think there's going to be some people who follow the Cam Ward example because now there's also talk that Quinn Ewers has a monster offer on the table and Texas seems okay with moving on to Arch Manning. So we'll see. Quinn Ewers is playing tomorrow night, but if Texas loses, Quinn Ewers may be doing the same thing that Carson Beck is doing. And remember, when we entered this season, a lot of people were saying, hey, Carson Beck might be the first quarterback off the board. But now he's injured. He didn't have the season that he hoped he was going to have. Playing for Florida. Probably the best game Carson Beck had all year was against Tennessee. He was fabulous, but he didn't play like that for most of the year. Took a lot of hits, threw a lot of interceptions, a ton of interceptions. And now they're saying, I bet, hey, go to a Miami-like program, because Miami's offering a lot of money to try to replace Cam Ward, and you can then be Cam Ward next year, go put up big numbers. Everybody's going to watch you playing, and you'll be a first-round pick next year. And by the way, I think there are people saying that to Quinn Ewers. Somebody's going to potentially give Quinn Ewers big money based on the dollars that are out there and what everybody is talking about. So, I mean, honestly, the world has changed. Guys can make more money staying in college football. Now they are suing to stay in college football instead of going to the NFL. We've never seen anything like this. I think you're going to see more and more guys potentially doing what Carson, Beck, and maybe what Quinn Ewers are doing, which is waiting to go to the NFL. Because if you're not a first-round pick, the money's not that good. You can make more money if you're anything outside of the first or second round for sure. You can make more money playing college football now than you can playing in the NFL. It's a worldview change in a major way, especially at the quarterback position. And I think you're going to see more and more Carson Becks, maybe Quinn Ewers, guys that people thought were first-round picks that maybe aren't going to be first-round picks, waiting to go into the NFL, getting paid more money to continue to play college football, basically hitting the free agent market. Okay. Speaking of the NFL, let me take a moment here. Congratulations, Mike Keith, the guy, 27 years as the voice of the Tennessee Titans, did an absolutely phenomenal job as the voice of the Tennessee Titans. Iconic call, the Music City Miracle. I listened to Mike Keith and Frank Wycheck for years as I was traveling a lot. And you couldn't easily get the broadcast. I would listen to their audio. They were phenomenal. Mike Keith and Coach Mack have been amazing for years, and I think he is going to kill it. Phenomenal video they put out of Mike Keith going and joining the University of Tennessee. I think this is a phenomenal hire. The video they put out of Mike Keith talking about being a young kid and the impact that being a kid growing up and working with John Ward and all those things that he did back in the day. I think it's a great hire for the University of Tennessee. He will kill it for them. And he's already a legend with the Titans, having worked for them their entire tenure here. To me, and this is me being selfish, the easy hire is Jonathan Hutton. He does a show with us. He's going to be on the OutKick network in a little bit. He worked for 15-plus years as a part of Titans radio. He and Coach Mack are great friends. I don't know who's going to be making the decision inside of the Titans organization. I know that Jonathan Hutton was the designated fill-in in the event that anybody was sick or anybody had travel issues or there were some sort of concerns. I know that everybody on the Titans radio network loves him. He did sidelines. He's ready. He does a daily show with us. I wouldn't have brought him in at OutKick if he wasn't ready. He's doing multiple hours with us every day. To me, it's a no-brainer to hire Jonathan Hutton. Now, Titans don't always listen to me, and certainly they have not agreed with me on a lot of things over the years. But if I had and owned the Tennessee Titans and I wanted a seamless transition, somebody that had called games for a long time and was able, based on his relationships, to step right in and not miss a beat, replacing a legend like Mike Keith, to me, it is a no-brainer. I would take Jonathan Hutton. Offer him the job, get him the job. He knows everything. He's been on all the Titans caravans. He knows how every bit of the job is done. He's traveled with them all over the country. He's prepared, and he gets along well with Coach Mack, who I presume is going to be returning as the color man. They are buddies. They're great friends. To me, it's a no-brainer. So to the extent my opinion matters at all, obviously I hired Jonathan Hutton to come work at OutKick. I think he's super talented. And to me, it's a no-brainer that he should get that gig going forward if I were making the hire. Okay, a couple of other things that are out there that I want to make sure that I talk about. I'm going to come back to the Wildfires in a moment, but I want to hit the Jimmy Carter funeral. I watched the Jimmy Carter funeral. There are a couple of things that I want to point out. In the space of a very short period of time, Democrats have gone from Donald Trump is Hitler to Joe Biden meeting with Donald Trump and laughing it up while they were meeting, and also to Barack Obama today at the funeral, laughing it up while sitting next to Donald Trump at the funeral. I don't recall Hitler being great at telling jokes. I don't require a lot of smiling and laughing in Hitler meetups. This is ridiculous. This is absurd. They lied to all of you. They never believed the Hitler talk at all. But I give credit to everybody, regardless of what their politics is, for showing up, whether it was Kamala Harris with her husband Doug, whether it was Hillary and Bill Clinton, whether it was George W. Bush and Laura Bush, whether it was even Mike Pence and Al Gore, whether it was Barack Obama. Let me just mention this, and maybe nobody else in media is going to talk about it. Michelle Obama should have been at the funeral. According to CNN, she was at a Hawaiian vacation and so wasn't willing or able to make the trip to the ceremony in Washington, D.C. for Jimmy Carter's funeral. I think it's a slap in the face. I'm sure that Melania Trump and Doug, whatever his last name is, and Hillary Clinton and who are the other VPs? Laura Bush, other first ladies. Laura Bush, I think that's all of them. I'm sure that some of them didn't feel great, weren't super excited about going to a funeral. They may or may not have had an extensive relationship with Jimmy Carter, but they showed that they cared enough about the nation to be there. And Michelle Obama has access to private jets. Yes, it's a substantial trip from Hawaii to D.C., but she could have given up one day to hop on a private jet. Barack Obama was willing to do it. She should have been there. And I know it's like disallowed to criticize Michelle Obama no matter what, but the other first ladies were there. The first gentleman, Doug Emhoff, was there. She should have been there. I actually talked about this on my show. I wonder how hard Barack Obama pushed to try to get her to attend the funeral. Because any of you out there that have been married for a decent amount of time, I bet Barack Obama agrees with everything I just said. I bet he thinks Michelle should have been there. I bet he suggested that Michelle go, and I bet she was like, I'm not going. And I wonder how hard Barack Obama pushed in trying to get her to attend the funeral, while also recognizing that for disagreeing with her, she was going to be mad at him, and how long did he want his wife to be mad at him? This is one of those things that I always found Barack Obama to have a pretty decent sense of humor. And I also think that not having been a major public figure for much of his life, the things that I liked about Obama the most were, for instance, you remember when he talked about how his daughters had no interest at all in his opinion of boys? Like, I loved that. He coached girls basketball, which had to be like wanting to pull his hair out. I respect it. I've coached sports. I'm sure he wanted to pull his hair out at times. But I remember him saying, look, I make every major decision on behalf of the nation. People trust my judgment, and they have elected me president twice. If I try to mention what I think about the boys that my daughters are dating, they just roll their eyes and they think that I have absolutely nothing to add to the equation at all. And I guarantee you, if he weren't worried about trying to provoke some sort of internal family crisis, I bet Barack Obama tried to get Michelle to go with him, and she was like, I'm not going. And then Obama, like every husband, had to decide, wait a minute, how much do I want to argue about this? How much do I want to be blamed for disagreeing with my wife? I guarantee you that Obama, if we gave him truth serum, would say that. I bet he agrees with me. Michelle should have been at the funeral. Michelle decided she didn't want to go to the funeral, and so she didn't. And as a result, I think it was disrespectful. And I would say that about Melania Trump. I would say that about Hillary Clinton. I would say that about Laura Bush. I would say that about Doug Emhoff. I bet more than one of those people I just named weren't that excited about going to the funeral, but they felt obligated based on the role that they had entailed for the nation, that they had held for the nation, to show up and to show respect at the funeral. Michelle Obama did not. I think it was a bad look for her. I bet Barack agrees. I bet he won't say it publicly. Okay, let's go back to the LA wildfires for a minute. First of all, I'm going to rip what I think is awful leadership by Gavin Newsom and by Karen Bass, the governor and the mayor. Gavin Newsom, I saw a video interview with him with CNN Anderson Cooper. He was asked why the fire hydrants didn't have water, and he said, I don't know, that's a local issue, and he actually threw up his hands like it's not his responsibility at all. Karen Bass was tasked with the very simple role of reading a website so that everybody could know what website they needed to go to get help. She couldn't manage that. She couldn't pronounce the word heroism. She was in Ghana. She criticized Ted Cruz for being in Cancun during the crisis in Texas, yet she, as the mayor of L.A., was not able, despite there being some forecasts suggesting that this might happen, to be in L.A. to manage the city's response to the biggest wildfire issue that they have had in modern history. I think it's a complete failure of leadership by both she and by Gavin Newsom, and I think the people of California deserve better. L.A. is a fabulous city. As someone who has spent a lot of time there, it is filled with a lot of fantastic people. They made a really poor decision on both their mayor and their governor. And what you're seeing is, in times of crisis, much like with COVID, where a lot of times who you picked as the governor or who you picked as the mayor didn't make a big difference, Gavin Newsom got everything wrong with COVID. He's now not managing the wildfire risk very well. Karen Bass shouldn't have beaten the individual she ran against. He was the far better choice, but she won. I think she won because of DEI. And now you're finding out that when the rubber meets the road and actual crisis arises, that there is a big difference between the capabilities of the people that are chosen. Gavin Newsom's not doing a good job. Karen Bass not doing a good job. Rick Caruso would have done, in my opinion, an infinitely better job as the mayor of L.A. By the way, in sports-related concepts, the Hornets-Lakers game tonight has been postponed because of the fire and the danger and the difficulty in L.A. associated with that. I also want to mention the way that the media has covered this in the mind of David Muir. A lot of people out there doing fantastic work. Again, thanks to all the firemen. Thanks to people who are bringing the true story of what's happened with the LA wildfires to everyone. David Muir got exposed. The guy put on a fireman jacket, went and stood in front of a burning building, didn't like the way that the fireman jacket looked on him, and so he had his production staff, I presume, with clothespins, tightening up the fit of his jacket so that he looked better in the shot standing in front of the fire. I think that everybody out there recognizes how much of a sham it often is, the way that these prima donna media people, and I'm one, but the way that these prima donna media people, I, however, am not a prima donna because I'm not good enough looking to be a prima donna, but the way that they go out and they do their television broadcast and they put on like the fireman jacket, and then they decide they don't look good enough in the fireman jacket, so they use clothespins to try to tighten the look to make them look better on television. It's a really poor position. I think it's less significant than the awful job that David Muir did as the ABC News moderator of the Trump-Kamala debate when he got tons of things wrong. And I think that has continued and is indicative of why trust in the legacy media continues to collapse all around us. All right. I love all of you. Decent chance that I'll be back with an OutKick show tomorrow, reacting to Penn State, Notre Dame, big game as we get ready for 5 straight days of big playoff games. But right now, I'm going to bail with you guys. Kelly Stewart coming in. She and I will break down the NFL wildcard slate as well as the college football from a gambling perspective, and that will be ready for you shortly. DBAP, unless you need to SBAP. As always, I'm Clay Travis, and this has been OutKick, the show.